really didn't know what to, what to expect.
You lie about your background.
I mean, that's all old news. I didn't lie about.
But I haven't.
What you do early on that kept you financially stable and now financially flourishing at this point in your life?
So what I did was find another passion. All my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares. And I figured out the biggest value and purpose in life is that it has nothing to do with money or buying all these things. I was young, manipulated, and I was a pup.
Okay, so let's talk about something that's been brewing under the surface of the hip-hop industry for a long time. We all know the names Jay-Z and Diddy. They're titans, moguls, synonymous with success. But behind the platinum records and the champagne toasts, there's a darker narrative that keeps resurfacing, and it's people like Vanilla Ice who really want to clear the air now. Vanilla Ice, someone who's seen the highs and lows of this industry firsthand, is now speaking out, making some serious allegations. He's claiming that Jay-Z and Diddy, both figures who built their empires partly on the backs of young artists, are implicated in a system that ultimately chewed up and spat out some incredibly talented individuals. This isn't just about business deals gone wrong. It's about the alleged manipulation and potential destruction of young lives. We're going to delve into what Vanilla Ice is saying, examine the history of these accusations, and ask the tough questions that need to be asked. This is a conversation about accountability, responsibility, and the true cost of fame in the rap game. Let's get into it. Okay, so for years, everyone thought Vanilla Ice just disappeared because he was a one-hit wonder, right? Like he had his moment, and then poof, gone. But Ice is now saying that's not the real story. He claims he didn't just fade away, he actually ran away from something messed up happening behind the scenes in the music biz. Apparently, some big-shot music execs were trying to get him involved in some seriously creepy stuff, those secret society rituals you hear rumors about. But Ice says he flat-out refused to go along with it. He basically said, "Nah, I'm good," and walked away from all the fame and money. But it wasn't that easy. Ice is also saying he went through some crazy stuff after that, like things were happening to him. So how did he avoid getting caught up in whatever trap has taken down other artists? Did he really almost get, sacrificed by the industry bigwigs? We're going to break down how Vanilla Ice managed to escape this dark side of the music world, and how walking away might have been the smartest thing he ever did. And you gotta wonder, were guys like Diddy and Jay-Z, who are known for being powerful and influential, somehow involved in this whole thing? Remember Vanilla Ice in '90? He came into the music scene like a lightning bolt, young, cocky, and convinced he was about to own the world. Ice Ice Baby wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural phenomenon. He was selling out shows, plastered on magazine covers, and living the dream. He had this raw energy, this undeniable charisma, and it felt like he was just getting started. He was ready to build an empire. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Almost immediately after achieving that meteoric rise, Ice claims he was confronted with the underbelly of the industry. He alleges that those powerful figures, the ones who control the flow of money and influence, started making overtures, trying to pull him into something far more sinister. We're talking about those rumored ritualistic practices, the alleged depravity, the whole selling your soul narrative that's been whispered about for years. It's the kind of stuff that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the entertainment world. Imagine being at the peak of your fame, riding this incredible wave of success, and then suddenly being faced with this choice. Either play along with these dark alleged games, compromise your values, and potentially lose yourself in the process, or risk everything you've worked for and walk away. That's the situation Vanilla Ice claims he found himself in. He was on the verge of superstardom, but the price of admission, according to him, was far too high.
Happens is, in order for that artist to be in position to even mislead the people, they have to be worthy. This is hazing. This is the hazing aspect of it. In order to climb the ladder in the music industry, you have to be hazed. And when you're getting hazed, you're getting in your ass.
You think you say like basically
this homosexual ritual?
Ice was the hottest thing in music. He was young. He had the world at his feet. And then, suddenly, the titans of the industry were calling. We're talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, two guys who've built empires, who know how to navigate the treacherous waters of the music business. They allegedly reached out, offering to take Ice under their wing, to mentor him, to show him the ropes, to elevate him to a whole new level of success. They painted a picture of even greater fame, more money, more influence, the kind of things any young artist dreams of. But here's where Ice's story gets interesting. He claims he wasn't blinded by the glitz and glamour. He says he'd been watching, observing how these same moguls had interacted with other young, promising artists in the past. And what he saw, he didn't like. He saw careers stall, artistic visions compromised, personal lives unravel, and young boys getting exploited. He saw a pattern of control, manipulation, and ultimately, a loss of authenticity. He felt like these artists were being molded into something they weren't. Their unique spark extinguished in the process. Oh, despite the horrific opportunity being presented to him, Ice made a conscious decision to walk away. He didn't want to be a project, a pawn in someone else's game. He didn't want to sacrifice his artistic integrity or his personal freedom for the sake of fame and fortune. He trusted his instincts, believing that staying true to himself was more important than any promise of success offered by these powerful figures. He chose the road less traveled, even though it meant potentially jeopardizing his career. T was a gamble, but one he felt he had to take.
This is a quote that you said in one of your interviews. You said, at one point in my life, I didn't even know who I was, what my purpose was. I didn't want to live anymore. With hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, I didn't give a shit about life. Who I am today is a complete flip the script opposite of that, and just super grateful, man, for my family, for my kids. And that's the meaning of life, man, the true meaning of life.
100%. We can go around as a young person in this globe and see life in a different way. And then you know what happens is, I shook this whole globe up, you know, like a snow globe. I shook it up. And you think reality is what you see in front of you, and then the snow globe kind of settles a little bit, and then you find out that none of it was real. It was all artificial. It's all just entertainment world. It's all on how people view you, even you. And you find your purpose, you find out who you are. And I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know Justin Bieber could definitely use some advice. Yeah. Lost. Because with all the success, nobody that, especially with what happened to me, 10 times even bigger than Bieber, because, or anybody, because of being me and white and who I am. And at the time, it was something far more impactful, if that makes any sense, for people to hate on or take a punch at or anything, right? So it was a groundbreaking thing that really was, and probably could have killed me in many, many ways. Not just the Suge Knight way but way, to the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
And fans love that about him. One person wrote, walked away from the industry with his man card intact. Respect and congrats. But while Puffy and Jay-Z tried to broach him, they weren't the beginning of the end. It was someone else who started it all. The whirlwind success of Ice Ice Baby didn't just bring Vanilla Ice fame, it put him squarely on the radar of the industry's power players. One name that reportedly surfaced was Charles Koppelman, a major executive with deep connections to Clive Davis, who in turn was a longtime mentor to Diddy. The rumor mill started churning, suggesting that these executives saw Ice as more than just a money-making machine. They allegedly viewed him as a potential puppet, someone they could mold and control. The whispers grew louder, claiming that Ice was being subtly steered towards those same secretive industry rituals that would later become associated with Diddy and other prominent figures. But Ice, according to the story, wasn't naive. He saw through the facade, recognizing the potential trap being laid before him. Before they could sink their hooks in and pull him deeper into the machine, he made a drastic decision, backed away, disappeared from the mainstream, and essentially walked away from the industry altogether. A fan wrote, "I remember back in the day we were too cool for school for Vanilla Ice." But the irony is, he is the only real man with the actual balls to not sell out to the satanic music industry. Wow. That's a real man right there, with real talent. But it wasn't a clean break. His departure wasn't easy or without consequences. There were moments during his brief but intense career when Ice genuinely feared for his safety, when he thought he might not make it out alive. The implication is that walking away from the power and influence of these figures came at a price, and that Ice had to navigate a dangerous landscape to escape the clutches of the industry's alleged dark side. Everything was happening at warp speed for Vanilla Ice. One minute, he was a relatively unknown rapper from Texas. The next, he was a global phenomenon. The industry machine was in full force, pushing him in every direction, controlling his image, his music, his schedule. The intensity was overwhelming, and the level of involvement from these powerful figures was suffocating. T got to the point where even the idea of marriage, a seemingly personal decision, became tainted by the industry's influence. He saw how relationships were manufactured, manipulated, and ultimately used as PR tools. The thought of bringing someone into that world, of exposing them to that level of scrutiny and control, terrified him. The industry's grip was so tight, so pervasive, that it even managed to cast a shadow over his personal life, making him wary of any genuine connection.
Even proposed to me. I mean, things were going so crazy and fast, man. I was just like, what? I thought the guy was supposed to do that. What do you mean? Wait a minute. This is too fast. I'm just getting started here, and I'm way too young for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was crazy. The more I think about it, the more crazy it was.
Now, when Vanilla Ice was riding high on the unbelievable success of Ice Ice Baby, he made a decision that sent shockwaves through the music industry. He turned down mentorship offers from some of the biggest names in the game: Diddy, Clive Davis, and Jay-Z. Think about that for a second. These were guys who could make or break careers. Guys who had the power to turn a rising star into a supernova. And Ice basically told them, thanks, but no thanks. Can you imagine the reaction? These weren't guys accustomed to hearing no. They were used to artists lining up, eager to soak up their wisdom and bask in their influence. So when Ice politely declined, word was they were absolutely livid. Their egos were bruised, and they likely saw it as a direct challenge to their authority and the cutthroat world of the music industry. That kind of defiance rarely goes unpunished. The story goes that they started a concerted effort to make things difficult for him, to subtly sabotage his career and ultimately blackball him from the industry. It wasn't an overt declaration of war, but rather a series of calculated moves designed to undermine his success. One of the primary tactics they allegedly employed was targeting him within the hip-hop community. They started planting seeds of doubt, questioning his authenticity, and relentlessly pushing the narrative that he was nothing more than a manufactured pop star trying to exploit the genre for his own gain.
Annual Hall show, at first I was a fan, you know.
What you gonna do?
And then I became definitely not a fan of the show, especially after I did the show.
In all fairness to my audience, when you talk about Vanilla Ice, I was mad at Vanilla Ice before the interview started.
Thank you.
You have been embroiled in a lot of controversy. The press has been really hard on you lately, saying that you lie about your background.
I mean, that's all old news. I didn't lie about
But
nothing.
I haven't interviewed you, so it's new news for my audience, so let's get into it.
I thought he was a little hard on me. He was venomous.
I've heard stories about me lying about where I came from and everything, and I never lied. Let me just tell you, when the record company creates all this stuff, bios around you, and, you know, they have your own publicists and everything, they create this image, okay? This image. And it's easy to hate on that image because it's a novelty act image, you know? I was kind of thrown into this new kids with snot category.
This created a hostile environment for him, making it incredibly challenging to gain any real respect or credibility from other artists and fans. It was like they were systematically dismantling his foundation, ensuring that he couldn't build a lasting career in the world of hip-hop. They wanted to send a clear message: you don't disrespect the power structure and expect to get away with it. But he didn't let all that stop him. Vanilla Ice wasn't looking for any shortcuts. He wasn't interested in handouts or favors, especially not from guys like Jay-Z or Diddy. He was determined to make it on his own, through sheer hard work and dedication, became completely absorbed by the 80s dance scene, particularly the moves he saw in movies like Breakin' and Beat Street. He spent countless hours honing his skills, practicing relentlessly to perfect those iconic moves. He later recalled in an interview, "I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I'd stay up and mimic the moves from Breakin' and Beat Street, watching them dance with a broom, the fishing line, doing the robot, and then throwing in my own moves. My mentality was always, no matter what it is, you have to prove yourself." Ice ended up forming his own dance crew and hustling for gigs at local malls. He earned around $40 a day by breakdancing, beatboxing, and freestyling for shoppers. As he told GQ in 2013, "I used to spin on my head at the mall and make $40 a day, and it was more than my rich friends could get for allowance." His background wasn't easy. He dropped out of high school, never knew his real father, and his mother went through several marriages. He grew up lower middle class, bouncing between random low-paying jobs while tirelessly pursuing his dreams. He was, as he put it, the only white kid trying to prove himself in a mostly black scene. And even when the rumors started swirling, when he heard whispers about Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly trying to sabotage his career, he didn't flinch. He didn't care what they were doing to try and ruin him. He had one thing on his mind: proving himself. He was finally tasting the sweetness of his hard work. All those hours spent practicing, all those gigs at the mall, it was all starting to pay off. Vanilla Ice was truly immersed in the local hip-hop scene, soaking up the energy and honing his craft. His big break came unexpectedly when a friend dared him to take the mic at open mic night at Club City Lights. He stepped onto that stage, nervous but determined, and unleashed his rhymes. The crowd went wild. They loved his energy, his flow, his unique style. The club's manager was so impressed that he immediately invited Ice to become a regular performer. And just like that, things took off. Before he knew it, Vanilla Ice was opening for some of the biggest names in the industry: NWA, Public Enemy, the DOC, Paula Abdul, Sinbad, and MC Hammer. He was sharing the stage with legends, learning from the best, and solidifying his place in the hip-hop world. By this point, he had built a solid reputation around Dallas. He'd won motocross competitions, battled at parties, and made a name for himself on Forest Lane in South Dallas. He was more than just a performer. He was a local icon, a testament to the power of hard work and dedication. Unfortunately for Vanilla Ice, his continued success as an independent artist didn't sit well with certain powerful figures in the music industry. Despite rejecting overtures from major music moguls like Diddy, Clive Davis, and Jay-Z, Vanilla Ice's ability to maintain his relevance and profitability allegedly rankled those who believed artists needed their backing to succeed, and what some have speculated was a message meant to teach him a lesson. Vanilla Ice fell victim to a violent attack that nearly claimed his life. The rapper was stabbed 5 times in a brutal assault, losing a dangerous amount of blood, approximately 4 pints. He spent several days fighting for his life in a hospital, with doctors working desperately to stabilize his condition. While no direct connections were ever officially established between the attack and any music industry figures, the timing and severity of the incident led many to question whether it was truly random violence or something more calculated.
I got stabbed 5 times, got my main artery right here in my leg. I almost died. You only have 8 pints of blood, I lost 4.
Damn.
And it was in my friend's seat for 3 months after. It still didn't even dry up. Like, he had the sponge seat, you know, underneath it, and it was in the seat when he took me to the hospital. My buddy Phil took me to the hospital. It was his fight. It wasn't even my fight. I didn't even know who this guy was. I was his passenger. And he's in the front yard of some dude's house. And he goes up, and the dude comes out in his trench coat. And Phil runs like turns into the biggest in the world and runs. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, what the that shit? The dude was coming at him, and he turns around and ran. This is my big Phil, man, the big dude. And the guy came at me. He goes, you want some of this, mother? I go, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what this is, bro. What's going on? And mother just standing there, and he's yuck. Next thing I know, I turn around, I choked the dude. He's just a skinny dude, a little guy. And that's why I couldn't understand why Phil ran. I didn't see the knife. He ran because he had a knife. And Phil comes back after the dude's laughing. I beat the dude. He saw me. Phil's 2 houses down in the front yard looking at me. I'm fighting this dude. Didn't even know he was stabbing me. And I'm choking him, and I choked him out. Did one of those old UFC moves. I put him on the ground. And I just choked him out. I'm punching him in the face. I beat his ass. Skinny little dude. He was easy to beat up. I let him go. He's out, and I get up, and he's still on the ground, and he's laughing at me. I'm like, why are you laughing, dude? I just beat your ass. And I go I'm exhausted, so I put my hands like this, and my hand slipped off. And I go, what the? I looked at it, and there was blood everywhere, and he got my main artery here. It was just gushing out like some you see out of the movies where just an artery is main thing. It squirts out. And he got me in my ass cheek. He stabbed me across here. Got 47 stitches on my hand.
47 stitches.
From here, see it? Right here, all the way down to here. I mean, I got scars. There's the artery right there, dog. Not to show you my untanned leg. I don't wear tight shorts and that's where the knife went in right there. And I'll spare you the details of my
yeah, we don't need to.
There's the scar there. Scar stories.
What seemed to particularly aggravate certain industry powers was Vanilla Ice's unexpected friendship with Tupac Shakur. The 2 artists had formed a genuine bond, which defied the industry's unwritten racial and cultural boundaries of the time. Tupac, known for his authenticity and raw honesty, saw something real in Vanilla Ice that others had dismissed. And their friendship grew, despite raised eyebrows from various industry figures.
But how did black artists treat you?
Great. That's where listen.
Like Tupac or Biggie or those guys?
Oh, good friends of mine. I was friends with Tupac way before he even blew up. When he was the Digital Underground. NWA, I was the opening act. Listen, I was the opening act for the opening act for the opening act for the opener when we did the Stop the Violence tour with NWA, Stetsasonic, EPMD, Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I was that kid out there, and they were great friends. They embraced me, man.
Yeah, Tupac and I are good friends.
Yes.
Good dude. Gave me some of my greatest advice because he saw me going through hell with all the hatred and all the he stood up for me and said straight up, Ice, you're dope. He goes, I want you to know you're one of the great ones. You're dope. You're going to leave your mark, your legacy. And this is before it happened. He knew it. This guy had a crystal ball.
This alliance particularly didn't sit well with Suge Knight and the rest of the moguls who viewed Tupac as their artist. The idea that a white rapper they previously mocked was now in Tupac's inner circle challenged their narrative and control according to some sources. This friendship was viewed as yet another act of defiance by Vanilla Ice, who seemed determined to chart his own path regardless of industry politics. The fact that Tupac, one of hip-hop's most respected voices, would validate Vanilla Ice's authenticity through their friendship represented a threat to those who had worked hard to paint Ice as an industry puppet. Now, when they saw how close he was getting to Tupac, they got involved again.